Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency. Please pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
If you don't mind, before we get started with roll call, I'd like just to have a moment of silence for everyone who's been lost, whether it's overseas or at home the last few weeks. You know, hopefully we'll all get to start the healing today. All right, so if you don't mind, please. Thank you very much for your consideration. I appreciate it. Roll call.
James Malcolm,
Here.
Faith Storms. Yeah. Diane Einen,
Here.
Michael Ham,
Here.
Orlando Reese,
Present.
Daniel Savona,
Here.
and Richard Jones.
Here.
All right, mission statement. The mission of the Ulster County IDA is to advance the job opportunities, general prosperity, and long-term economic vitality of Ulster County residents by targeting tax incentives, bonding, and other assistance to foster creation and attraction of new business and the retention and expansion of existing business. In front of you, you should have the the minutes from the December 16th meeting. If you would all please take a minute or so to review. And at that point, I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented, or if there are any additions or deletions.
Chair, I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I don't believe, council, do we have anything for executive session today?
Oh,
Did he mute
hold on.
himself?
Yeah, I got it.
Sorry, Chair. Not to my knowledge, unless there's something that the board wants to go into executive session to have a discussion with counsel on for advice of counsel, but I'm not aware of anything that needs to go into executive session.
Okay.
And Rose is nodding her head in agreement.
Typically, we would know that, so clearly we don't, so we will move on. Can we take a look at the financials, please? Good morning, Faye.
Rose, would you mind doing the financials?
Sure, no problem, Rick. Hold on one second. So the bulk of what's in here for December, the project admin fees pass through, most of that is the $100 charged to our projects for the CPA review of their payroll documents for 2020. So even though we might not have collected the money in 2020, that's the year it's for. So that's the year it counts in. And then corresponding with that, you'll see the project admin expense pass through down at the bottom. So that washes itself out. The reason administrative staff fees is negative for December is because the CRC reimbursed the IDA for the fourth quarter administration, as well as an adjusting entry in there, which I discussed at length with our CFO about what the best way to show it was on the financials. And we agreed the best thing to do was to do it this way and then to just put it out there so that it's on record and everybody knows what happened. Any administrative staff fees that were for running the PPE grant then got moved out of administrative staff and into the PPE grants line. And we had discussed that, I think, last board meeting, because that would come out of the $300,000 allotment that we put towards that entire grant program. So that was a year-end entry for the staff time. Because of that, our administrative staff time came in under budget for the year by $24,000.
Well,
Which shocked me, but is
Yeah,
is
yeah.
then the you can see down at the bottom the PPE grants that came out of the IDA so far through 2020, including the staff time, is $159,000. So that money will roll over towards grants for today, and or if the board chooses to continue the program for a short amount of time or at all, but we can discuss that later. There's a couple of things that'll be adjusted in here. I have to get bills from any vendors that did work in 2020 that haven't yet sent us their invoices, which I expect to get shortly. And this is the same thing that happened last year. It's normal in the course of it. Other than that, you can see on page 13, our bank accounts and our receivables. The bulk of the receivable is the $75,000 that's due January 1st from Golden Hill or Ulster NH Realty. So as of December 31st, we didn't have that payment, obviously.
Did we get the payment on January?
When was that due?
January 1st?
So we did not. The address that we had on file is no longer valid, and I've spoken with the owner about that, and we've emailed it to him as well as sent it to a new address. And that's it for me on the financials, unless
And the
anybody
payment
else.
was due when? It's by December 31st?
No, it was due January 1st.
January 1st.
Has he acknowledged that he owes it, and when are we
Yes.
getting it? Okay.
Yes, he's acknowledged it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, haven't gone through the financials. Can I get a motion to accept them as presented?
Motion to pass
motion,
financials as presented.
Thank you, Dr. D. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that. I will second that.
Thank you, Daniel. Anyone on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Brings us to the chair's report. We got a lot going on today. We've done a lot in the past month with potential new applicants, and we'll get into that more during the course of the meeting, I assume. So that's my report. Committee reports, audit.
Thank you, Chair. The construction labor monitoring report you can find on page 14, and you'll see Innis for the month of December, 563 workers. Their monthly compliance rate is at 90%. So this particular project, we have had last quarter, September through, we've had a high of 718 workers to 563 this month, but the monthly compliance rate has ranged from 95 to 90% over the course of those months as well. Rick, I think you had a question about how workers are counted and the criteria that's used. I don't know if you wanted to ask that now.
No, if you had the answer, we could discuss it, but I'm not sure. I was amazed at the number of people in 1 month at a project that's coming to the end. And so I was just questioning Diane about the method of counting, and maybe Mike, maybe you're more familiar with how they might count given your involvement in these kinds of projects. Do they count this every day? How many people are present on the site each and every day of the work week? And that represents the 505. These are not discrete and different people. These are presumably the same people who were just there multiple days during the month. Because again, 505 people in 1 month.
563.
That project is coming to the end. It wasn't any different any other month. In fact, it was higher. So it might be something, Diane, we just need to sit with Loki Brill and ask them what methodology they're using to do the count. The point being, we just want to make sure that they're in compliance with 75% of the workforce coming from Ulster or contiguous counties. So I'm not questioning well, the number is not correct. I just want to know the methodology. Seems a little
Sure.
odd to be that high, but
I do know last month the percentage of local labor for the project was 82%.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good question, Rick. Rick, it's a good observation. You know, it sounds to me that it's a cumulative count, just the amount of bodies on site every day. That way you can track hours, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier to make sure who's local residents, and it skews that number a little bit. But like anything else, you know, I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. We can tell Loki Brill exactly what we're looking for and how we'd like to arrive there. So, you know, please, anybody, we don't have to debate it here today.
I think we have an
It's
audit
something that-
committee. We have an audit meeting coming up, Diane. Maybe we should ask Loki Brill to be on the phone to explain.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
you know what, how they arrived at it and what it is that you need to give you a clearer picture. Okay?
Yeah, that's
Sounds
good.
good.
Good-
The only
good
thing is
observation.
thank you, Rick. The only other thing for audit is that we will be meeting tentatively scheduled for February 2nd, and we have a lot of year-end reports to put together at that time. That concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for audit? Can I get a motion to accept them as presented?
So
The
moved.
report?
Motion to
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second.
Second.
I have a second. Nothing on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Brings us to Fay with finance.
Chair, there's no finance meeting or any information this
Okay.
month.
Thank you, Fay. Appreciate it. Mike Ham with governance.
Thank you, Chair. So the Governance Committee held a meeting on January 13th at 9 a.m. The board entered into executive session for the purpose of recommendations for legal counsel to represent the UCIDA, UCCRC as agency bond counsel. The following proposals were presented to the committee by Bryant Rabino, LLP, Harris Beach, LLP, Hodgson Russ, LLP. The area law firm did not reply to emails or calls in regards to these proposals. The board exited executive session with a recommendation to the entire board to accept Hodgson Russ as the sole counsel to the UCIDA, UCCRC. And there were no other items on the agenda that day, Chair.
Do you want to put in the form of a motion the findings and a recommendation for council? We have
On
a
the
complete
governance,
board here now.
yes. The Governance Committee would like to recommend to the entire board to accept the recommendation of using Hodgkin Russ as the sole agency bond counsel for both the IDA and the UCCRC.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Joe Scott. Thank you. Anything else, Mike?
Thank you,
No,
Chair.
there were no other items on the agenda.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the governance report as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Anyone on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, Rose, Tim Rogers, I know he put it out there. He wants to know how to sign up for comment. I got it on the chat, so.
Yep, I see it here.
So you're
Um,
seeing if anybody puts a chat request in, it's going to you, you're seeing it?
Yep, I see it. And Tim, that's fine. I've got you on here. You can message the chat, or you could send an email to the info email. The best way is probably the chat, because sometimes the email takes a bit to come through, but we'll certainly get to it during the public comment section. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, the CEO report.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time. It's probably the longest one yet, but I will try to move quickly. So the M&T bank transfer, a quick update, everything is set up. They sent, unfortunately, the wrong type of checks. They sent checks for handwriting as opposed to printing from QuickBooks. So we're just waiting for them to send the correct checks so that we can just go smoothly instead of having some kind of Mod Podge in between. The open meetings law, as you can tell, since we're sitting here on Zoom, the governor passed an executive order, which includes the extension for public meetings and hearings to be held remotely for another 30 days until January 29th. As COVID positives are remaining alarmingly high in the county, the meetings will remain on Zoom until further notice. And then although our next meeting is scheduled after the executive order runs out, I think it's reasonable to believe that we will still be on Zoom for our next meeting. Of course, either way, I will keep you all posted, and it will be on our website as well for anybody that's not on the board. As Diane mentioned, we're looking to schedule a meeting on February 2nd at 10:30 a.m. for the audit committee. The only challenge will be, I'm just waiting to hear back from Jay Mahler about using the legislative chambers should the executive order not be continued. That kind of makes the scheduling right now a little bit difficult, but again, I will keep the audit committee members posted and the rest of you as well if you want to attend that meeting. We received a FOIL request last month that I'm working with Joe Ariel on to finish out. And he and I have gone over what may or may not need to be included in that. And so hopefully we'll get that finished by the end of the month. Project closeouts. As you know, I've been working with Joe Scott and Meredith Millark in Joe's office on the project closeouts. Jim Lee or Elna Ferrite Laboratories or Elna Magnetics was recorded on December 28th by company counsel, and we should have copies this week. Therefore, they don't have an annual fee for 2021, and they will no longer have to report after 2020. And I think I had mentioned it last time, but I do just want to say that it was very much a pleasure to work with Joe at Elna, and I think he offered some great insight about ideas for the IDA to help with workforce development and manufacturing going forward. Spotted Dog Ventures, this was to be recorded by company counsel as of yesterday, but it has not yet been recorded. So we're just waiting on that final paperwork and on Spotted Dogs or the Emerson's counsel to do so. Kingston Hospitality was recorded on January 5th, 2021 by the county clerk. Simulates was recorded on January 7th with the county clerk. T-Bar Rocking Horse Ranch was recorded on January 7th with the county clerk, and Lloyd Park mailed for recording to the county clerk on January 13th. Although some of these things were sent out before year end, the county clerk, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was COVID, I don't know if they were just backed up, it didn't get done before year end, which then brings me to the next part of this, which is when I met with T-Bar, aka Rocking Horse Ranch, they were inquiring about their annual fee for 2021. Because even though everything was filled out and it was sent in before December 31st, they're still on our books through 2021, which means we have to do reporting again in 2021 on their project. And technically, we could decide whether or not we want to do the annual site visit, because our policy says that we can do it every other year as opposed to every year, although we've typically done them every year. So I told them that I would bring it to the board for you all to decide what you thought was the best course of action.
So Rose, we missed the end of 2020 because of
7 days.
paperwork. It was their intent to get everything done. It was our intent.
Yes.
But, and I believe the county clerk's office was closed there for a period of time for COVID reasons. So my suggestion would be just to waive the fee and also waive the visit. They're no longer a active project. It's just the paperwork and the requirement of the part of the state that we still have to report. So you'll still have to do that, but it was no failure on their part.
Want to put that in the form of a motion, Rick?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we resolve the matter of the project mentioned by waiving the fee that you would normally collect in the month of January, waive the visit, the annual visit that we normally do, and we just lay it on the table that they were prompt in responding. We attempted to get it done by 2020, end of 2020, and because of COVID, it didn't happen.
Okay. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Second,
Okay, thank you, Faye. Appreciate that. Anything on the question? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The last one on the closeout list was Gardner Library. There was some real confusion as to whether or not the bonds for the library had been erroneously refinanced without IDA approval. I've now been able to confirm that this did not happen. As such, Gardner Library sent us the annual fee for last year and for this year. They still owe us the late fee from last year, but I wanted to appeal to the board on the project's behalf to ask that the late fee be waived. It's very clear when looking at the annual reporting documents that we did get last March from them, that it was a copy of the original that they had sent earlier and likely on time, as they have said that they did. And it got lost in the mail. Although the matter was previously brought up, it was not brought to the full board last year, so I wanted to do that. They've been compliant with their site visits for both years, and now the confusion about whether or not the project is still actually a project is cleared up, and they've paid their annual fees.
Okay, so just oversight, what passed what in the mail, everything else. I would recommend, I'd like to put a motion forward, kind of echoing what Rick did on the prior one, as far as that goes. You know, we got to have a little common sense when we're dealing with some of these things. Can I get a second, Rick Jones?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know the library will be very happy to hear that as well. I reached out to SUNY Ulster and SUNY New Paltz again about the internships for the spring semester. I am no longer hopeful about getting an intern to be able to use to catalog and digitize our files and possibly update our website because of COVID. SUNY Ulster is interviewing students right now for the spring semester, so maybe there's a chance, but if not, we'll revisit this again for the fall semester. The issue is that the person would have to be in our office, and people just really don't want to go to another place right now while trying to quarantine as much as possible for COVID.
How about we try, and you know, you leave it up to them, but how about we run it through SUNY itself? Because
Okay.
you know, and see if you'll get somebody who wants to, you know, you go over the mountain in Ellenville and you're in Orange County. So maybe somebody wants that, or come over from Dutchess, but we do projects and we talk about contiguous counties and that, so
Okay.
we've
That
made a
sounds
lot of
good.
effort.
Yeah, I'll try that too. Yeah, and we certainly did try the ones here first. I spoke with another potential project over the last month. There was a pre-screen for a potential applicant from Wallkill last week. I believe there's one business in the town of Ulster that is currently working on filling out their application to start the pre-screen process. And on Friday, I have an appointment to touch base with a business in Ellenville again about potential IDA incentives. Deputy Director Kate Heidecker and I are meeting on Friday to start a conversation about the mentoring program idea. I also intend to circle back on a few items of the deliverables that Lisa and I had agreed on before she changed positions, as far as files that we needed to get from them. Later today and on Friday, I'll be speaking with Deputy County Executive Evelyn Wright about plans for the county's Green New Deal in 2021 and how we might be able to be part of that vision. Today and tomorrow, I'll be virtually attending the New York State Economic Development Council's Economic Development Conference. The topics for the general and breakout sessions that I plan to attend include workforce development during and after the COVID economy, the innovation economy, strategic investments and partnerships fueling New York's recovery efforts, incentivizing solar energy projects at the local level, and building a pipeline of clean energy projects with IDA support, trends in economic development from across the country and what to expect in 2021, an overview of New York State finances and the impact of the COVID pandemic by Comptroller DiNapoli, Pilots 101, maximizing the tools in your economic development tool chest, state of New York State economy and budget priorities, smart growth, how communities across New York State are building a brighter future, and the state of the economy in post-pandemic New York and the future of economic development. Annual site visits. I have finished up site visits with all but one project. I will try one more time to meet with the project, and then I'll then compile a report as I did last year for the governance committee to review. Grants. The board set a hard deadline of December 31st, 2020 for applications for the PPE grants. However, we had a few that came in incomplete, so we allowed them to submit past the deadline, letting them know that there was a chance it may not be accepted. When I met with our projects during the annual site visits, it also became very clear that there was confusion or a lack of knowledge of the grant program. Rick and I had discussed the idea of extending the PPE grant for our projects only through January 31st, 2021 to allow us to support them a little bit further. I also had 2 other local businesses reach out past the deadline and one more yesterday. So as much as I am dragging my feet, I would like to ask the board to give one last extension of this program through January 31st to allow our projects and other local businesses to take advantage of the program, especially since we still have some money left in what we had originally set aside.
I'm not against that, but what I would say is I think we should reserve the right to reopen the program because nobody has a crystal ball here. We don't know if next waves of anything are coming. So the first round, fine. If we find ourselves inundated with requests because things have changed, I'm putting this out to the board. I think we should reserve the right to reopen it. So.
Right, well, we
Put
would
that
always have that right, wouldn't we? To
I'm sorry,
reopen?
Kay?
Well, we would always have that right to reopen, right?
Yeah, but I want to memorialize it here on a public record,
I
just
see.
so, people understand that, it's amazing to me how a lot of people don't know because it was such a hot button issue. I even got a call from a former board member and had no idea about it, so.
I'd like to extend what the chair has said, and I'd prefer not to set a date of January 31st. That's right around the corner. Let's extend it to the end of March, and this is.
Okay, you're gonna put that, I'll rescind and you put it in the form of a motion. We'll extend to the end of the first quarter of the year. Is that okay, Rick?
I'll make a motion that we extend our PPE program for both for the IDA to the end of March 31st, and that we extend it not only to our own projects, but as we did before, to any business within Ulster County.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's using our head. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Second.
Okay, anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Rose, quick question. I'm sorry. What are we doing with the extra expense? Are we still tracking that? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, we have housekeeping resolutions, as today is the first meeting of the new year. The first one, and Jimmy, I'm obviously going to look to you on this because you are the expert on this part, is the chairman, the election of the chairman, and I know you know how to do this way faster than anybody else does.
Hey, did you have something you wanted to say prior to getting into all these nominations?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Due to the fact that I was just recently elected Vice President of the Ulster County Board of Realtors, I would like to, thank you. I would like to open up my a little bit.
That's great.
Thank you. But I feel at this time, I need to have a little bit more of a cleaner plate to work from. So I'm going to be stepping down from Vice Chair and Vice President. I keep getting these confused. Vice Chair. I say Vice President all the time. Vice Chair.
Vice President is a good job.
Well, that's my other one that I'm getting. So, and then President. But in any event, Jimmy has done a wonderful choice of who he wants to replace me with. So he will be talking about that in a few minutes.
I'll put it this way. You did a tremendous job after the former chair left, and there was that break in it, and wearing two hats. So I think everyone here would like to take a just take a second to thank you for the time and effort you put in for it. I know I do. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Faye.
That being said, and for the sake of
Thanks, Faye.
expediency, I'd kind of like to combine this, both with the election of chair and the election of balance of officers. It's going to be, we're going to run a slate, and basically everyone who was there, their current positions, they'll maintain, with the exception of, I've asked Dr. Diane Einen to serve as vice chair. She brings a good perspective, and she's clearly one that'll tell me when I'm getting out of line. And I like that as well. So I'd like to put a motion on the floor to keep all current, everything status quo with the exception of Dr. Diane Einen as vice chair. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any other slates? Anyone? No? Anyone? I'm going to close the floor as far as slates. I'll open it up for individual nominations for election of chair. Anyone? 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 There not being any, I would direct the CEO to file one white ballot. Election for the balance of officers instead of going through anything, is there any activity, anyone who wants to run for a particular office outside of where they're at? Anyone? No? I'd like to get a motion to close nominations.
So
Chair, I
moved.
motion to close
I
nominations.
have a second. All those in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and again, please file another blank ballot. I would just like to say something. I've been on these boards for a while. Rose kind of reminds me of it from time to time, and by far and away, this is the most progressive, hardworking group of people that I'm in, and that doesn't shine badly on anybody that I worked with in the past. It's just this group has lobbied to take responsibility, whether it's through governance, audit, and the chair would not be such a smart guy if he didn't have the people that chair these committees. So on a personal note, I applaud and I thank each and every one of you. So what else do we have under that? Rose?
There's the last couple housekeeping resolutions here. Hold on one second. So page 23 is, again, something we do every year. It's just to reaffirm all of the policies that we already have in place, as well as to reaffirm, there's an error on page 26. I just realized on Schedule A, the CEO is not James Malcolm. That should be Rose Woodworth. So to reaffirm that, accept the policy, to reaffirm all of the policies and the appointments as listed on Schedule A1 with the exception that I just named. And I think we just need a roll call vote for this one. And
Before we take the vote, have you and council gone through this?
Yep, council prepared it.
Okay. You need to keep an eye on him. He's a one-man show now, you know. Okay, Rose, please, with the roll call vote.
James Malcolm,
Yes.
Faye Storms,
Yes,
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona. Oh, he's muted. I see. Oh, I got it. There you go.
Yes.
Yes. And Richard Jones.
Yep.
Great, thank you. And then the last one, I'm gonna let Joe discuss. It's an amendment to our housing policy based on council's recommendation.
Thank you, Rose. The material is on page 28 of the handout, and this was distributed to you all in advance of the meeting as part of the package that went out last week. What I'll do is I'll go right to the heart of the resolution, which is Schedule A, which is on page 31 of the handout. There's been a lot of discussion about our housing policy over the past number of meetings. Based on council's review of our policies in general and the housing policy in particular, I noted that there was an inconsistency between the housing policy and the IDA's UTEP policy with respect to exemptions. And the purpose of this resolution is to make the housing policy consistent with the IDA's UTEP policy, which requires the IDA to obtain the consent of the local affected taxing jurisdictions, but provides an opportunity for the IDA to move forward if the IDA determines to move to do so. So the purpose of the resolution is to make some consistency in our policies that's outlined in the finding section and the whereas clauses of the resolution. And the new language is Schedule A, which is adding paragraph F to the policy. And I'll thank Mr. Jones for addition to that language to make it clear that it refers both to housing projects and mixed use development projects that have a housing component, which is what the reference is in our existing housing policy. So he assisted me in the process of making our language more consistent. So with that,
It took me 2 hours, Joe. I need for you to share some of your fee for this.
What is that, CBS News, give us 10 minutes, we'll give you the world?
And with that, I'll open it up for any comments or questions.
So Joe, just I want to make it clear have it clear in my mind. The current UTEP policy, when it comes to a deviation, requires certain steps, one of which is to reach out to the affected municipalities. However, the existing UTEP allows for discretion on the part of the board if we can't secure the affected municipalities. We still have the ability. It's not a flat out you must get. It's a you desire to get, and if we find that it's still in the best interest of the county, that we can move forward. The housing policy that we implemented some months ago, where they changed the housing policy and section E, made it a have to get, which is what's inconsistent with the current UTEP, and that's what you're recommending that we correct.
That's correct. The language, in fact, if you open up the UTEP policy of the IDA and read that paragraph against the paragraph F, the language is very similar. The intent is to make it consistent.
Joe, might I ask the timing of this? So when this would come into effect, if we were to pass this today?
Well, it would become effective today, Diane, the date of adoption. I don't have in some instances with respect to policies, you can certainly set forth a grandfather clause. You can set forth, it goes into effect in the future. This is relatively, at least the approach I took was that this was relatively straightforward. And so there's no special provision with respect to when it goes into effect. So the general interpretation would be that it would go in effect today, assuming that the resolution is adopted.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions from board members? No? We need a roll call vote. Rose?
Yes, that's what it says on the resolution.
Okay, we'll have the roll call vote then.
Do we need a motion first, Joe? Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Chair.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh, you're going to do a roll call.
Yep. James Malcolm,
Yes.
Faye Storms,
Yes.
Diane Einen,
I believe that we should have consistency in our policies, but I don't agree with the timing of this policy change, given that we have decisions to make today and those rules of engagement were stated otherwise. So I believe that the timing of this is, for me, is the issue. So I'm voting no.
Okay. Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Yes.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. That concludes my report, Chair.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the CEO's report as presented?
I make
I'll
a
make
motion
that
to accept it. Go ahead, go ahead. Go on.
I'll make the motion to present the report, to accept the
you,
report
Faye.
as presented.
Orlando, I assume you're seconding it?
I will second with Fay.
And nothing else on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, that brings us to old business, status of pending projects.
Joe, do you want to take this one?
Sure. The report, the written report is on page 31 of your materials.
Yeah, it's 27 of the latest one. I'm sorry, I think. Oh, I have it. Yeah, that might be. The page numbers got messed up at the bottom.
I'm sorry, you're right. So it's
Mhm.
it's page number 27 at the bottom. It's PDF 31.
Yep.
We have two pending projects, the Wildberry where there's been no change, and the Kingstonian where there's some potential or proposed action items at today's meeting. And with that, that's my report on pending projects.
All right. That brings us to the Kingstonian LLC.
Joe, you want to explain the resolutions? Because I know there are a number of them.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
There's three resolutions for consideration by the IDA this morning regarding the Kingstonian project. I'll summarize them and then we can go through them in detail. It's at the pleasure of the board. The summary description is the seeker resolution. As a governmental entity, the IDA can't take final action with respect to a project without first considering the potential environmental impacts of a proposed project. This project has received seeker clearance by the city planning department. And as part of that process, the planning board, excuse me, as part of that process, the planning board was appointed the lead agency of the project, and we are, among other entities, an involved agency. So we basically follow the lead of the lead agency with respect to the seeker review. Because there was what is called a coordinated review, they provided us notice as they went along the process of the environmental consideration of the project. So our resolution confirms and accepts the seeker findings done by the lead agency. So that's a summary of the seeker resolution. The second resolution is a commercial findings resolution. Because of the retail elements of the project and the housing elements of the project, it's our view, and this is the view that we take with all of our clients, that the IDA should consider a commercial findings resolution, which makes certain findings with respect to the retail issues and the housing issues. Those are all outlined in the resolution. And the purpose of that resolution is to touch the bases, if you will, of the IDA statute with respect to project qualification. The third resolution is the approving resolution. That's the meat of the three resolutions. That resolution approves the project, approves the pilot deviation, approves the project for purposes of our housing policy, and authorizes the chair to enter into the various documents relating to this straight lease transaction. There's a number of findings in the approving resolution. They're all outlined in section 3 and in exhibit A of the approving resolution. And when we get to that resolution, I would recommend that council review them in detail with the CEO to make sure that the board understands those various findings. So that's a 50,000-foot explanation of the three resolutions. They should, in order to move forward, there needs to be a motion, a second, and I would recommend a roll call vote. And with that, I'll
Ask for a motion to move forward.
back to you, Chair.
I'll make a
Ask for
motion
a
to move
motion to
forward,
move
Chair.
forward. Do I have a second from, I have a motion from Dan Savona. Do I have a second?
Second.
From Orlando Reese. Please proceed with a roll call vote.
Okay, and just to be clear, this is for the first one in the packet. That's the commercial retail findings resolution, right?
No,
That's
sorry.
the-
Seeker
The
would be
seeker was the
first
first one? Okay. So seeker,
Chair,
thank you.
if I may, I just have a question about the seeker. May I,
Right.
so Joe, we were an involved agency. The Planning Board of Kingston was the lead agency. Would an involved agency ever have the opportunity or the procedural basis to challenge anything that the lead agency has said? And question mark, and has that time frame to challenge it passed or not?
Well, typically, Mr. Jones, the contesting of those issues take place upon the appointment of the lead agency. My experience is that once the lead agency is agreed upon, things typically go fairly smoothly. Sometimes there's some controversy at the beginning about who is going to be the lead agency. Once the lead agency is appointed, we're noticed of the public. We're notified of all the hearings. We receive copies of the draft materials, and we have the ability to communicate our concerns during the process. So that's the way the seeker review works. We could certainly voice objections to findings during the process, and it's up to the planning, in this case, the planning board to react to those objections. And if our objections are strong enough, we could, in theory, commence an action challenging the actions by the planning board.
Has that period of time for challenging question mark passed due to, and typically that challenge is in the form of an Article 78?
Yep.
So the period, as I understand it, for Article 78 passes in 60 days?
No, it's 4 months. 4 months.
Okay.
Yep.
So that time period has passed for anybody to challenge the findings of the lead agency. Is that correct?
Yes, I don't know off the top of my head. Let's see, the date that. Yeah, it was December 16th, 2019 was when they made their neg deck, made their negative declaration. So
Okay.
it's well beyond the statute of limitations for contesting that.
Okay. I
Please
just
move
wanted to
forward.
clarify that.
No, but it's a good question. Good question. Rose, would you like to move forward with the roll call vote?
Thank you. James Malcolm,
Yes.
Faye Storms,
Yes.
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. So then the next one is the commercial retail findings resolution. Need a
Any
motion.
questions on that for council prior to the vote? Dr. D?
Thank- Joe, question I have for you. So in this resolution, we're stating the full scope of the project that's under consideration for the deviated pilot.
Yes,
Okay.
we're
So,
looking at we're looking at the whole project in all three resolutions, all the
okay.
components.
So in the application, and in presentation by the developers, they presented this that for consideration for pilot was specifically related in response to the parking garage. So I guess my question is, it looks like this in this resolution, if I'm understanding it, so I'm trying to ask the question.
Sure.
It seems inclusive of the hotel, the housing, the plaza, the full scope of the project. Whereas my understanding was they came to the IDA for the pilot specifically for the garage. That was the but for.
No, that's not my understanding, Ms. Einan. The pilot is intended to cover the whole project, and the financial assistance being considered by the IDA is, for instance, the other three elements, the mortgage recording tax and the sales tax, is for all components of the project. So the financial assistance being considered by the IDA here, and the numbers that appear in Exhibit A of the approving resolution with respect to the description amount of the benefits, covers the complete project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for council? Please, Rose, move forward the roll call.
I'm sorry, I think we need
Motion.
Oh,
a
okay.
motion.
Mike Ham, you want to give us a motion?
Yeah, I'll motion, Chair.
And I'll
Sorry, I'm writing
second.
things down.
Daniel Savona will second that.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Yep. James Malcolm,
Yes.
Faye Storms,
Yes,
Diane Einan,
No,
Michael J. Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
Yes.
Okay. The ayes have it. And now the last one, hold on. Sorry, a lot of pages here, guys. Is the resolution, the approving resolution for the Kingstonian Development Project. And so we would need, if there's questions, and then.
I
the
need a motion to go to a roll call vote for the Kingstonian project. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we go to vote on the Kingstonian project.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Anything on the question? Anyone have questions, or council you want to weigh in?
Yes, please, if I may, Chair. If we could just for a couple of minutes, go to page 48 of the handout. It's both PDF page 48 and printed page 48 at the bottom. There is a number of findings that start in start in section 3. Some of the findings are typical of what we've done with other projects, namely there's no pirating going on here. This is a retail project, but it qualifies for IDA assistance because of its location. And then, as we've discussed a number of times at IDA meetings, if you look at paragraph J at the bottom and paragraph K on the next page, page 49, we have specific findings with respect to addressing the issues of our UTEP policy and our housing policy with respect to local approvals. Lastly, I'd like to go to page 53, where we address and review the uniform criteria that the IDA has developed in connection with the review and consideration of projects. You'll see that with council's work and the CEO's work, we've reviewed the background material of the ID of the project applicant. We have listed information regarding the creation of permanent new jobs, private sector investment, the estimated value of tax exemptions, the likelihood of the project being accomplished, the extent of new revenue being generated locally, any additional public benefits, local labor construction jobs, regional wealth creation, the fact that it's located in a distressed census tract, its alignment with local planning and development efforts. It promotes walkable community areas. There's elimination of blight, proximity and support of regional tourism attraction and facilities, local and county support. And that obviously is in the form of the city and the county. And then I guess I'd finish up with, there's no brownfield remediation. And then I note that there was compliance with IDA policies with respect to our consideration of the actions by both the city and the county and our review of our other policies. So with that, Chair, we'll open it up for any comments or questions. And
Well, I have a motion and I have a second. Councils has filled us in on some pertinent information. Are there any questions from the board members? Okay, I'll move a vote.
Chair, sorry, just, I just want to make a, general statement that the board has certainly reviewed this project for many, many months and at many, many meetings, discussions with the applicant, discussions amongst ourselves, discussions at public meetings. We've had a public hearing, and it's my view that this project will be a boon to the city of Kingston and to the larger community of Ulster, notwithstanding the tax inducements, and that some of the objections to it I totally understand. Some of the objections, in my view, are based upon items that we don't control. For example, the impact of tax caps that impacts, and I don't deny that's the case, impacts the school district. That's not anything any IDA in New York State can fix. That has to be fixed by Albany. The comments that sales tax exemption would in some way disenfranchise a particular city within Ulster County. That again is not something the IDA can deal with in terms of fixing. That's something that the legislature of the county of Ulster needs to deal with, and I'm aware of, at least in reading past record, that they are at this point in time fine with the distribution of sales tax, and who gets what portion goes to either the city of Kingston or other cities. So I, just want to not dispel and not discount, but just make a comment around that. I think all the members of the board have gone back and forth many times with being in support, not being in support, asking many, many, many different questions. And I just want to state for the record that I'm comfortable with the claims and the real fact that this will positively impact the city of Kingston. And I also want to caution us that there are some items, particularly around the tax cap, that this board and other entities should be advocating be fixed by Albany, by the state legislature. We've heard in past James Skoufis decry certain elements of IDAs, and I don't disagree with them, but here's an opportunity to be positive and fix some of the things that are wrong with it for the betterment of the entire New York State and certainly the county of Ulster.
Rick, just a moment, but before we go and before you finish up, there's been some conversation and not so much reaching out to Senator Skoufis, but more so to our own senator up in that area, newly elected Michelle Hinchy. And I think this board as a whole will craft a letter to both assembly people and state senators that are in our Ulster County area, and asking them to, look into it and certainly try to, change the wording, make it more beneficial for the communities. Because look, everybody understands the school's position, but unfortunately they're hamstrung and development would stop. But we are certainly advocating that government take a look at it. So if you're done with your statement or no?
I just, I'm long in the tooth, and I just have
I know. That's fine. No one gets
let him go. Yeah.
No one gets muffled.
And I'm somewhat disappointed in the personal vitriol that has erupted in some ways, not against anybody on the board, that rolls off my back a little bit, but personal vitriol between certain people and members of the Kingstonian team, the actual developer, that has no place in civil discourse. So I just urge everybody to, as we go forward, to lay that aside and work for solutions. And that's about it. I mean, I'm not going to go through every point of this project and do an analysis of it.
I'll have you muted.
You would mute me, but
I
any
would never
case-
do that. I would
in
never
any
do
case,
that,
it's
pal. You know better than that.
one final thing is we need to be cautious about. We always need to be cautious about the projects that we induce, and there are some projects that are clearly out of our scope given the law, the New York State law, section whatever, and there are others that are the kind of projects that we should get involved in and discussion, and we have the ability to make some exceptions. But in any case, I just want to reassure the board that I will work with anybody who comes forward with a project. If it fits the statute, we move forward, make the adjustments that are necessary, and get what's good for the county. If it meets the statutes, if it doesn't meet the statutes, then it shouldn't go anywhere. Period.
Okay.
I'm finished. Thank you, Chair.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
You said it well. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, with nothing else, we'll move the roll call.
James Malcolm,
Yes.
Faye Storms,
Yes.
Diane Einen.
I would just like to make a comment before voting. I think that this is a really important project for Kingston. I think in its totality, it's a very good project. And I have been honestly back and forth on my vote. And for me, what it comes down to is in the application and in the presentation of the developers to this board in July, they came to us seeking the pilot based on a parking garage, responding to an RFQ that went out by the city to help solve a really stubborn issue and problem that we have in Kingston around parking. And so this project, the way it was framed, the way it was presented to us, and the way it applied was around a parking garage. And when I look at the parking garage and the but for, and the developer standing in front of us at our July meeting and saying but for was related to the parking garage. This project will go on even if the parking garage is not approved. And so for me, the decision comes down to a $17 million parking garage to construct for a $26 million inducement for maybe a net of 200 additional parking spaces in the city of Kingston. And for those reasons, I don't support the project,
Okay.
the parking.
You're voting no then?
Voting no.
Okay, for the record. Let's move forward with the roll call, the rest of it.
Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, could you outline, if Chair, if you permit me, just outline the next steps? Because I know we're still along, we have a lot to do, and
You
As the
said a lot
CFO
today. You had your 3 or 4 questions today.
I yield my time back to the gentleman
Okay,
in orange.
okay,
To
Rick.
the gentleman
You
in
got a
orange.
friend in square number 5. Please, go ahead, Rick.
yeah, it's important to know what the next steps are. And as the CFO, you and I have chatted about, I want to make sure that all the things agreed to by the applicant, and they are many, and they're across different documents. So I'm not going to play lawyer, that's what you do, but I want to be all over the final documentation.
Well, I would expect you to be all over final documentation for any project. I don't know why this would be any different, right? Yes or no?
Right. Right.
There you go, because we wouldn't want to appear to be one side or the other. We do things, as you asked before, with what's available out there, what we're supposed to do. So it's something that the applicant has to bring us and for us to review. Status quo, right?
So Joe, the next steps are,
So what I will do, Mr. Jones, is I'll reach out to the project applicant advise them of the action taken this morning, and then get a timetable for a potential closing date for this IDA straight lease transaction. And then based on that timetable, I'll report that information back to the CEO, and then I'll start working on documents. And obviously, you and I have had some conversations. We can certainly, and I'm very happy to include you in the distribution list for purposes of review of materials, to make sure that the various conditions and terms that are a condition to the IDA granting this financial assistance are fully reflective in the actual documents.
Thank you, Joe.
Will that be at the next meeting? Will that be at the next meeting?
I'll certainly have, I'm going to reach out to them this afternoon or tomorrow to get a timetable, and then I'll communicate that to Rose, and then she could send it out to you electronically. Sure.
And typically the closing documents aren't passed around at meetings, but it's all done internally.
Right, right.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood the question. I'm certainly going to get information about the timetable, Storm, so that we know what the closing schedule is for the matter.
Thank you, Joe.
It looks like the chair got booted here.
Did he get?
We don't need a chair. It's a coup.
Yeah, there we go.
Prayers
How,
do work.
It's a
how
coup.
appropriate.
It's a free for all.
Did he
Yeah.
get kidnapped?
Yeah, probably. My God. The next thing on the agenda, though, is Aferia Inc. And we have Kathy Hobbs here. That's her project. And Kathy, I'm going to unmute you and ask you to just give, obviously the board has had a chance to review your application, but also to just give you a minute to give a brief overview of the project.
Thanks, Rose. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Hobbs, and I own Aferia Inc., which is a home staging company. We are building a passive warehouse, the first of its kind passive warehouse. We're actually aiming for net zero, a sustainable building in Highland, New York. It will be a 12,000 square foot building that will house the furniture that we use for staging. For all of you who may not be familiar with what staging is, we essentially go into homes and we furnish them so they sell. So this warehouse will house our furniture and our accessories, our artwork. It'll also be an office for my company. There will be a charitable component where once we are not able to use furniture that's gently used as a result of staging, we will be able to donate that furniture to people who are transitioning from homelessness to permanent shelters, as well as foster care agencies to help furnish children's rooms and be able to donate some of our furniture that we're no longer able to use. The project is in the stage where we have selected a contractor, but we haven't been able to start yet. So that's where we are.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi. My screen says Darlene, but that's not right. It's Faye. So just in case anyone's wondering, how long have you been doing this, and what's your market? What's your demographic?
So I started my company in 2004. And so that's, gosh, 17 years ago. So my background is actually in television news. I was a newscaster for more than 20 years, mostly at Channel 11 in New York. And so basically I was able to parlay a blend of television and design into my company. And so the majority of our clients are Manhattan-based, but I have been a full-time resident of Ulster County since 2012, raising a child in Ulster County since 2012, a little girl who's now 10, and she was 2 and 3 months when we moved full-time to Ulster County. So I know the area and decided that I wanted to move my business here. And so about 3 years ago, we moved our business from the city to Ulster County because that's where we were living, and I purchased the land. We're currently in a temporary location, and I decided to invest in the community by buying a 4-acre parcel of land to build my warehouse. So since that, we have seen an explosion of the market here in the area, and so we've expanded as far as being a rental source for people who are looking to rent furniture. Maybe it's for a vacation rental. Maybe they're doing an Airbnb. And then we've also seen a lot of developers who are looking to us as a build homes. So we're looking forward to being a very active and a productive part of the community and helping to get dollars in the Hudson Valley.
Okay, you're muted.
Rose, I think you
John.
have to, you have to.
I
unmute
did.
Paige.
I had to mute it because the noise wasn't stopped.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So will
Yeah.
you continue to be doing business in Manhattan a lot? I mean, because the staging business, you have to have a huge amount of inventory.
Oh, yes, we will be able to do both.
Yeah.
We will be able to do both. And one of the reasons why the location is desirable is because it's near 87. So we're able to go to a lot of different areas. We currently sorry, there's a feedback, but our team, what's exciting about it is that with the warehouse, all of our installers, our creative looks people, will all be employed locally and living locally because that's the need. Essentially, that's kind of the hub is the warehouse. And then what we have in the city currently are designers. But we're also going to be having some design team people in our offices, and all of that kind of infrastructure, the installers, the movers, the people who are pulling, the creative look specialists are all actually currently upstate and will remain upstate.
Okay.
So Kathy, I just have 2 quick questions, and we met before at the pre-screen. And I think you addressed them, and I honestly forgot. All of your sales or lease whatever you're doing with what's in that warehouse will be conducted with sales tax charged and sales tax coming to Ulster. So I know you're going to be doing work in Connecticut, Manhattan, but the sales are not taking place there. They're taking place here in Ulster, and we'll gain the advantage. Ulster will gain the advantage of the sales tax charged for those transactions. Was that what you had informed us last time?
Well, what's interesting about that is so the my services are subject to sales tax. So the services that I charge for staging are subject to sales tax. So when the office is located in the county, essentially when we charge someone for our services, we will charge the tax, and the business will be located in Ulster County so that we will have that trickle down to the sales tax going to the county. The home staging services, design services are taxable. So that's how that would work as well.
So your tax address, if you would, is Ulster County.
It will be once we open the office, yes.
Right. Okay.
But the only issue with that would be it depends on where the furniture is delivered to, right? So if you
No, we haven't been impacted when, at least the way we've always done it is it's based on our location. It hasn't been where the furniture is delivered to.
Right. The other thing is, I know that when you stage, you initially charge for the staging and for the trucking, for everything and putting it in, and then you charge a rental fee, correct? For however long that furniture is in that house for.
Faye, I love that you understand the staging business.
Well, I'm a broker, so.
Oh, there you go. That's why. That's
And
why.
I was
Okay,
an
so,
interior decorator for 20 years, so I get it.
all right.
So, but do you charge tax on that too, the rental fee, or is that a separate, how do you handle that?
No, the whole transaction is taxed.
Right.
I
So,
thought Rick was asking specifically about the services. So the whole, so the compensation structure is the services that go into it as far as our creating of a design, our installation setup, that service, the pull and pack. And then on top of that is a rental fee. So what someone gets is a bundled price. On my contracts, we break it down. The service is X, the furniture is X, and then there's tax.
okay.
Yeah, my question, Faye and Kathy, was just, I want to make sure that it's Ulster that's getting the benefit of all of your efforts and being helped by the tax inducement, and the sales tax being charged is all coming to Ulster. That was the nature of my question.
Right.
I'm sure you can understand that. The second question I had, you had talked extensively about the staff, and you might just want to let the board know about the salaries that you're paying the staff, which is important to the fashion in which we give you credit for in 3 different categories: for the size of your staff and also for the salaries you're paying. So you might want to just describe that and maybe even follow along on the application. But would you just chat a little bit about that?
Sure. Let me, you want me to go essentially job by job?
Well, yeah, you've got on page, I might have the old one, Rose, but
Yep.
page 65 of 80 for the board, it's the area that shows the, describes.
What's the letter or section, Rick?
I'm sorry,
It's not that page anymore.
employment plan, FTE employment plan, and then administrative, medium skilled, designer.
Okay, so page 66 of the board packet, of the packet that was sent out, the final one that was sent out last night.
I also broke out, what page is it again? I'm sorry.
Well, for our board packet, it's page 66, but it's the section of the application where you lay out in the graph the number of full-time equivalents that you're going to be adding for each year, if that helps you.
So I have there, I also broke it out in a separate document for further clarity what the jobs would be. I don't know if you guys see that. It's a Word document. I wanted to know if you want me to refer.
It's not in this packet, Kathy.
Okay, okay. So essentially, we are looking to immediately in year 1 bring on an admin who will be doing a variety of tasks and needs. I mean, essentially, you have tons of things that are always needed at a warehouse. And then we have the medium skilled, and that will be one of our installers. We need to bring on another mover installer. We currently have everything in house, and we need another person who can drive a truck. So that is an immediate need in year 1. And then the other is that we have a internship program in which we train someone for a year in their senior year of college, and then we look to bring them on as a designer. And so we currently have someone who started in September and will be graduating in May, and we'll be transitioning that person into a full-time position. So those are the 3 there. As we move to year 2, we will probably need, and especially as we are expanding into areas where we're currently not servicing, another person who can also be an installer for us. As we will, we typically would work with 2 to 3 people on a job, and then also bring on another designer as well.
So I'm sorry, so currently, how many employees do you have currently and how many designers and how many truck drivers and how many trucks and all that?
Okay, so currently we have two, um, two employees, myself and one designer. And so we would be looking to expand with 5 full-time jobs over the next 3 years. We do not have trucks. We're currently renting trucks because I don't have a warehouse. We have a temporary location. So that's a big part of this, that once we're able to have a building and a warehouse, we will be able to expand and have our own trucks. We're currently renting vehicles.
I was thinking it might be helpful, Kathy, if we could go through page 70 of our packet also, just to be clear with the points that you're pulling from the matrix. So for you, that's the one where you added up your number of points.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one, you have 1 point, is you're going to be adding 5 jobs. Then for the retained jobs, that doesn't apply. The projected wages, you have 3 points because of the amount that you'll be paying, you're committing to paying the employees, as well as having benefits. The construction workforce, you're committing to 75% of regional workforce, which is Ulster County and the contiguous counties. So there's 1 point for that. Environmental sustainability, I think it's clear a passive warehouse is going to qualify for the 2 points on our matrix. And then there's no points for the community investment just because of you're not in the proximity for the bus stop, and it's not in an economically distressed area. And then the last one would be the educational and workforce investment. You have 2 points for at least 50% of the workforce having advanced educational credentials. So I just wanted to call the board's attention to that, just to see if there were any questions or clarifications on that important section. So I did have a couple of comments on a few things that were off on the application that just need to be corrected. On the page that you break out the pilot schedule, which is page 71 for us, you have, I think you put transposed isn't the right word, but you have a typo, I think, starting in year 3. It's 1,952.28. All the other years the years above it were 1,953. So it just creates a math problem when you're adding up the total amount with the pilot. Do you see what I'm saying?
The dollar difference.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
okay.
year one.
You're talking about where it says project costs, or?
No, I'm sorry. For you, it's
Just take
the
real
property. Yeah, property tax exemption. So it's the chart where you literally calculate out what the pilot you're
All
asking.
right, I'm there on that page.
So in column A, the first 2 years are 1,953.28. After that, you have a typo where it changed to 1,952.
Yeah.
So you just need to change that. I know it's
Okay.
small, but it then creates just a math error. That's all.
Yep.
The
I don't
other
know why that
section,
happened. I apologize for that. I have to
that
get on
happens.
my CPA husband for
I
messing
know.
on it.
I actually chuckled because I said he's in for it.
He's totally in for it. That's
when I saw it. The other section is section B and E need to be filled out all the way. Those are the sections following that chart. So the amount of the sales tax benefit that you would get, which would be 8% of the materials that you're using for construction, as well as anything else, any other equipment or whatever you would be using the exemption for. So, and then in part E, you just have to, that's basically a summary of all of those other sections. So that just needs to be filled in as well.
just so that I'm clear. So basically in B, is it 3.5 times 8% is what you're asking for in the line below it?
if, I think you might have the wrong number of 3.5 million there. What should be there would be the amount that you're asking for the sales tax exemption on. So like, if the new building materials are, I'm making it up, $1 million, then you're asking for exemption on the $1 million of materials. This is not for the benefit of sales. This is just for like your sales. It's literally for the materials you're purchasing or your contractor is purchasing. So then it's 8% of whatever that is. That would be the benefit that you're asking for.
Okay, so I put down a project total as opposed to an estimation of materials.
It's, yeah, it's materials. And then I'm making it up because I don't really, like, if it was for a forklift or anything else like that that you were using the benefit for that you were asking for, that would go there in that total. And then the 8% would be what you're asking for. And that number is important because that'll be, if the board approves it, that would be what's on the documents that you were approved up to that amount of money and no more than that. So that number is important. Then section E, like I said, is a summary of those sections above. So that just needs to be filled out as well. And it's just like a nice way to summarize everything that you're asking for so that you can see, so that it's clear what the total project cost is versus the total project incentives.
Okay, can I suggest that we move forward contingent on the changes being made? And you can do this, because we do have a lot of stuff today.
So
Do you want me to make a motion for that?
well, there's a resolution in here, and that's what you mean, Jimmy, right? Is to,
For
Yeah,
public hearing.
I need to not, this should all been taken care of prior to, but that's fine.
yep, yeah, we did go through it in the
That's fine.
pre-screen as well.
Yeah.
So then the next step for Ms. Hobbs's project, assuming these changes are done, would be to move for a public hearing for the project. And all this does is authorize the staff to set up the public hearing at least 10 days, et cetera, out to get public comment.
So do we have a resolution for that?
Yes, that's on page 81. So we would just need a motion, a second, and a roll call.
Can I get a
Okay,
motion?
I'll make a motion to move for a public hearing for Aperia Inc.
Okay.
I make a
Can I have
second on
second?
that. A second.
Second.
Thank
Anything
you.
else on the question? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Oh, I'm
Joe?
sorry, roll call. I apologize.
Okay.
James Malcolm,
Yeah,
Faye Storms,
Yes.
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
yep,
Okay, thank you.
is that it for Ms. Hobbs's project?
That's it for me.
If you don't
Thank
want to
you.
hang around and look at us, you can go. It's up to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kathy. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, PPE grants.
The list is on page 85.
Let me ask a quick question of the board as a whole. Have you all had a chance to review these grants?
I did, Chair, and I have a question around
Okay, let me
just one of
just,
them
let me,
for the
okay,
CEO.
so Rick, before you get into it, everyone's had a chance to review them. And if there's any questions on specific ones, fine. Does council suggest we go through and vote on them individually, or is it cumulative?
We always do cumulatively.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Rick, you're on.
Yeah, just in that package, in that separate package, page 8 of 37.
Okay, that's a confidential packet.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's why I'm not mentioning the name of the company.
okay.
But page 8 of 37, there's a big number there, $4,070 for construction. Do you see it there?
For what, Rick?
for construction, it says Galaxy Construction.
Yeah, so Rick, we went through so that's their listing. We went through the receipts and made sure the construction was for something legitimate.
And is it?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I just have to say quickly, that I have that both Fisher Security and Simon Lodging Group are clients of our firm, but obviously, as always, they were treated the same as everybody else that came to us for the grants.
Good. It's good stuff. Any other questions on any of these grant applications?
I'm glad to see people are using it, you know? It's a very good
Yeah.
thing.
But it's also sad to keep hearing these stories that people haven't learned or heard about it after all these months.
You know, it's without really good publicity. You know, you don't get a real paper anymore. How do you find out unless you're online? I mean, it's very word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, we've done Facebook, we've done the chamber, we've done email blasts. I've emailed our projects. We've tried, and so certainly we'll try again as a final push between now and March 31st.
Right.
Hey,
I
Rose,
know. Oh, I'm sorry.
have we sent it out to just the local towns? You know,
Okay.
each of the towns, and just sent out a press release to all the towns?
So, no, I guess we've not sent it directly to the towns, but I do know that I've shared it, like, for example, the town of Shandaken, the Joyce Grant there saw the Facebook post. I know she shared it with her town. So
And
I do know.
I've announced it on the public TV also,
Yeah.
whenever we have a board meeting. So, you know, that
Yeah.
helps. But it
But
is,
maybe sending it out to the towns.
Okay, we could do that. I have their email addresses.
That's
Or
a
the
great idea.
legislators or whatever, you know.
it's even though, but when we were interviewing some of the, reviewing some of our projects, they didn't even know.
Yes, they all got emails, but
Well, a lot of
sometimes
people,
people don't read emails, right?
they
So
don't.
We've
Yeah.
tried.
Right.
Okay, so there is enough money left in the budget for the IDA to approve these grants here.
Now,
So, you know-
Rose, can I just ask you a question? I know it's taking a lot of your time and effort, and it's costing us quite a bit of, you know, extra money to do these, because you have a lot of phone calls, a lot of people calling you up. Do we have enough money to keep pursuing this and paying you to do it in the fund that we put aside for this?
They're gonna run out of money shortly out of the IDA, but there is still money left in the CRC for what you would put aside. Yep.
All right. Because now we're going into March.
Yep.
Which
Well,
means,
when we're out of it, we're out of it, right? We did the best we could.
Yeah,
right,
I mean, if there's no more money by the time February comes around, then that is what it is. Right?
Yeah. right, right.
Rose, can money
Okay.
be moved from the extra money from the CRC to the IDA?
Well, there's no reason that the CRC couldn't be the one that does the grants
Right.
for the IDA projects.
Okay,
The ones that would have normally fallen under the IDA. So
we could
do
just
that.
shift it over to what we allocated for the CRC, and there's quite a bit
Yes.
of money left there.
Yes.
All
I
right, we
think it's
good?
important. We allocated it. We went through this, you know, a few months ago, and again, I'm repeating myself. This is not ending anytime soon, and companies and small businesses certainly still being stressed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a good point. You know, we're going over above. I think we're the first agency in the area to take this step, so we're not going to fall off. So thank you. I'd like to move forward with a vote on the applications. Do you
Make
need
the
a roll
motion to move
call? or
forward?
just a
I
motion?
need a motion.
We need a motion to move forward with the, oh, yes. Okay, a motion to move forward with approving the applications for the PPP.
I'll second that. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or is it a roll call?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, that brings us to public comment, agenda items only. How many people we got in the queue?
So although people have been chatting, I only know that, Tim is coming here. So I'm gonna unmute Tim. If anybody else has a question, if you could either put it in the chat or do the raise your hand feature, then I'll be happy to unmute you. But Tim, you're on the hot seat first.
Okay, great. Yeah, I put this earlier in the chat and I just wanted to, make sure it was said publicly. As economic development folk, do you have any suggestions for local governments and school districts if you're expanding IDA policy to grant pilots to for-profit housing and mixed use, where you do not need approvals for local governments or school districts who may object? In our village, we rely on property tax revenue to fund things like snow plowing, fire trucks, and health insurance for our staff. What will we do? And then I'd also like to respond to Mr. Jones. You are not handcuffed to capitulating when pilots harm your tax-paying neighbors. When I was on my town's planning board in 2014, we denied a project precisely because the for-profit housing applicant sought a pilot. The applicant sued and the judge sided with New Paltz. I can share with you our planning board's finding statement identifying the harm the pilot would create.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Chair, may I
Anyone
just-
else?
Yeah, Chair, may I just?
No, we're not going to debate it, Rick.
Okay.
This is not for debate. It's public comment on agenda items. Tim, thank you very much for your time. Anyone else?
Nobody's raising their hands and nobody's put
Okay.
anything in the chat.
If that's the case, we'll give it, just to be fair and equitable, because it's tough to maneuver through the Zoom, we'll give it a minute, and then I will entertain a motion for adjournment. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Ulster County IDA.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I have
I'll
a
second.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Does anybody need a minute prior to going into the CRC meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, let's take
Yes.
a couple minutes.
Rick, you need a bathroom break, Rick?
Why is it
Aaron,
Rick?
Can you
Why
please
is it
stop
only
the
Rick?
recording? We need to stop the recording and make a new one for the CRC.
How about we reconvene at 10:45? That'll give us